does make a difference in the sound. We're going to see how this plays out. So welcome to Thoughts of a Black Queen podcast, Afterthoughts, you guys. This is the follow-up. So if you're here, then hopefully you checked out the last podcast entry that dropped, entry 50. We're 50 deep now. And so I just kind of wanted to come and be more in this space over here with y'all and give you guys more visuals to go with the podcast. And so what I want to do now is I want to do what I'm calling the afterthoughts. And I want to give you guys a little bit more context to the entry that we just finished up. We just wrapped up crossing the threshold and dating after the healing. And so I was journaling down some thoughts and some things just to kind of like stay on task with what I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit more openly about the episode 50 because some things don't land the same way when you're like in podcast mode, right? You're always trying to make sure that you're saying things and getting everything out. And I wanted to come on here and I'm going to try to keep these short, not do too much. But this feels like more of a conversation. So if you happen to just stumble upon me some kind of way on YouTube, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to my channel. Hopefully you'll return. Hopefully you'll hit that like and subscribe button. There's going to be way more of this to come. But yeah, so let me just kind of catch you up to speed with where we're at on the podcast. So for the last 10 entries, we were talking about the solo season series. So basically that's the season just when you have to be in solitude, right? You have to focus on yourself, your healing. You might be on a healing journey. If you're anything like me, you're on a healing journey. And you have been on one for a long time. And so it was just basically about getting back to who you are, getting out of that dark space that you might be in and trying to better yourself, learn more about what you need going forward. And just healing, really focusing on healing, being intentional about that, being intentional about putting yourself first, your self-love journey, all of those things. And so now, transitioning into that, I thought, okay, well, since we've been talking about that for the last 10 entries, maybe it's time to switch up the vibe a little bit. Let's talk about dating. But I don't want it to just be a conversation about trying to find a new man or whatever the case may be. I wanted it to be more of let us not forget about if you're open to dating and you're ready to step back out there. Let's talk about the self-care that goes along with dating. Not so much focused on do's and don'ts for first dates and things of that nature, but making sure that we're still maintaining all the work that we did in our solo season, making sure we're still standing 10 toes down on our boundaries and things like that as we go into the dating season. When I wrapped up the solo season, I realized something really important. I wasn't afraid of dating again. I was afraid of losing the version of myself that I fought to become in my solo season. I did a lot of healing work. I did a lot of intentional healing work, therapy, research, books, self-help, all the things. I did all of the things, solo dates, solo trips, intentionally putting myself first and intentionally establishing lessons, learning the lessons and realizing that boundaries was something that I lacked and figuring out how I needed to shape those things for my next relationship and just things like that. Like I fought really hard to get into the space where I'm at now. I remember when I first went into my healing season that the first, few days or a couple weeks after really being broken down and really being hurt by someone, I remember how I felt, and it was really, really hard. And it was a season of depression. I would even go so far to say, because life changed, right? Everything that I knew life to be, it changed for me. And so I had to like come to grips with that. And so it was really hurtful, because it wasn't just a casual relationship to me. It was a significant part of my life that ended. So it was like a chapter ended, and I had to prepare myself to go into a new chapter. But I had to build myself back up, because I experienced a hurt like no other before. It was really hard to come out of that. So that's what I was scared of. I was scared of feeling that hurt again. I was knowing myself and knowing who I am and knowing what I bring to relationships and how I look at relationships. It was scary for me to think about going into another it was scary for me to think about going into another relationship and being hurt like that again, or putting myself in harm's way again. And I think that a lot of women don't talk about that part. We talk about healing, we talk about being ready, but nobody really talks about the quiet fear of saying, okay, how do I let someone in without unraveling? How do I let someone into my life without getting back to old behaviors and doing shit that I know, doing things that I know I shouldn't be doing, or allowing someone to come in and like mess all of the work that I did up, or just putting myself back in positions and ignoring red flags and things like that. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that when we jumped into entry 50, that episode wasn't just about jumping into like dating tips and love stories and things about that. It was about the posture that we need to hold ourselves into going into being open to dating again. How we need the posture that we need to have our hearts in, and our mindset that we need to have going into dating, and making sure that we are still taking care of number one. That's important. So like how we enter into this new chapter, it really matters for us, right? Because we're not in the solo season anymore. We've decided that we're going to be open to a different space. And so that's important to remember, but we're not abandoning what that season taught us. Just because we're not there anymore, we can't forget about everything that we had to overcome, and those nights and those epiphanies that we had, and all of the things that we gained along the journey of healing and along the journey of being in a season of solitude. We can't forget about those things. The difference now is that we're moving forward with memory of everything that we learned, and not fear anymore, or we're trying not to. I think it's not really fair to say that we don't have any fear, because I think when we get back into the dating world, we do still have a fear, but it's different. It's like you got different things at stake now, right? So I feel like when we're dating from awareness, I feel like that kind of feels a little bit slower, right? It's slower, but it's steadier when you're dating from awareness, because it's just kind of like, okay, now I know exactly what I'm coming into this for. I know what I want. I know what I have a tendency to do. I kind of know what didn't work for me. I kind of know where I fell short on myself at. It's just like, you kind of are a little bit more aware, and you don't have to really convince yourself of certain things, because your body already knows, your nervous system already knows these things. And so, and I'm looking at my notes that I jotted down in my journal too, so that if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I want to make sure I put everything into this this one video. But I just think that like, just because we come into something and say like we're open now, it's like being open, it like, just remember, girls, that like being open doesn't mean that you have to be available to any and everybody that shows you interest. Because here's the thing, the dating pool out there is, oh yeah, So you're a queen, you're a beautiful woman, you're gonna get attention. You don't have to be available to anybody just because. And there are going to be a lot of tests. I talked about this on the podcast. It's like there's going to be a lot of tests. Everybody isn't going to be the one, right? Everybody can't be the one, and you're going to have to come into contact with different people. And I feel like different people come into your life for different reasons. And I feel like sometimes they come into your life to test you, to see if you're even ready, and to show you your soft spots, and to show you where it still hurts, and to show you where you still might need to do the work, and what they call the triggers and things like that. And I think that it's an exciting time getting back into dating. I think that's really exciting for a lot of us. We are anticipating having someone in our life, and we look forward to having companionship, and we look forward to doing all the cute little date night things, and we look forward to building connection with a person intentionally. But that doesn't mean that, like, because attention can feel flattering after you've been in kind of like isolation or in solitude. I don't want to call it isolation, but in your solo season, there kind of was intentional isolation, right? But it was healthy isolation. Made sure we talked about that as well. It's like there's isolation and there's healthy isolation. And we were in healthy isolation because we had to work on ourselves. And so we didn't have that connection with other people. I mean, this is going to be different for everybody that's listening to this, but like, you probably were being intentional about not dating, or if that was the case, like for me, until I was ready to say, okay, I'm ready to even entertain a conversation with somebody, I had to make sure I was in that spot that I was ready. But like, attention can feel flattering, but just remember that you don't owe anybody anything. This is your journey, and this is your healing journey, and you are allowed to move through your healing journey. And you cross at like the name of the episode is called Crossing the Threshold. You cross when you are good and goddamn ready to. You understand what I'm saying? You do it when you're ready to. No one's going to tell you how you should be moving, how you have to move if you're not ready. It's your terms, your law. You move the way you want to move. But remember that attention that doesn't mean alignment. Just because you get attention from someone, that doesn't mean that this person is going to align with what you need or where you're at. There's going to be a lot of frogs, honey. It's going to be a lot of frogs that are going to come your way. And, I feel like along my own personal journey, which I'll talk more about certain things and specifics over in Patreon, which if you don't know, I do have a Patreon. That's where we get a little bit more personal than what I would like to get here on YouTube or on the podcast. So if you're interested in that, there will be a link. You can join me over in my penthouse on Patreon. It's 3 tiers over there. You can join for free. Come on over there. If you're here watching this, come on over to my Patreon. Ladies only. It is for women only. I'm sorry, fellas, it is not for the guys. It is a safe space that I am curating for women only. I'm open to men that tune into the podcast. I get feedback from men often, so that's cool. But Patreon is strictly for my girls. But anyway, I don't even know how I got into Patreon. I think I was talking about specific dating stories. We'll talk about that in Patreon. But again, you don't have to don't mistake the attention that you're going to get. People are going to come into your life, and they are going to specifically come into your life to test you. They're going to see where you're at. They're going to see if you're paying attention. They're going to see if you're able to stand up for yourself, if you're going to speak out on things. Remember, we're not doing people pleasing no more. We're just not going to do that anymore. And we have to get past the chemistry of things, right? Like, chemistry is not safety. Just because chemistry doesn't always mean that you and somebody are compatible. It just means that, like, there's chemistry there, and it's easy. Sometimes there are a lot of good guys out there. Like, again, I said, like I talked about on the podcast, you'll never really hear me just bashing men and saying there's no good men out there. I don't believe that. I believe there's lots of good men out there, and I believe there's lots of good women out there, and I believe that there are lots of good matches that are waiting to be made in divine timing. But I just feel like sometimes in order to get to a certain spot, you got to go through some things, and you got to be tested on some things. And I think that that's what's going to happen when you come into this season where you were not dating and now you're ready to do that. You're going to be tested, and you're going to have to stand on some things, and you're going to have to do that unapologetically, because again, this is your world. And I don't say that to say that the other person doesn't matter. A potential relationship is two people, but right now, where you're at right now, the point of the timeline where you're at right now, this is about you. The same way they have to be thinking about themselves first, you need to prioritize yourself first, and you have to remember that this is your journey. This is going to look the way that you want it to look. You can design this the way that you feel like you need to design it. And if that comes with taking your time, if that comes with establishing a boundary, do not allow anyone to make you feel like your boundaries are stupid, or your boundaries are because you got baggage, or your boundaries are because you've been through some things. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that is a manipulation tactic that people try to use when they cannot live up to what you have established as a boundary, or if it's not something that they really want to go along with. They will try to downplay, and they will try to minimize your feelings and validate your boundaries. They will try to make it seem like it's something wrong with you because you got boundaries. No, what was wrong with me was that I didn't have boundaries. And now I'm realizing that I should have had it all along. And if I would have had healthier boundaries for myself in past situations, I might not have been in the situation that I was in, or I might not have stayed in situations longer if I would have had these healthy boundaries for myself. And I think that those are, like, for me personally, that was one of the things that I had to realize about myself. My last relationship, I did not have healthy boundaries for myself, and I overlooked a lot of things in an effort to try to stay connected to this relationship. This relationship meant a lot to me, so I wanted to keep it. And so I was willing to, even though, like, I talked my shit, I said what I needed to say about certain things, but a lot of things I didn't. And a lot of things, it was just like I transformed into a version of myself that I know is not me, out of the sake of trying to keep that relationship. And that's just not healthy. And so I know going forward now, I know how to set those boundaries. And I know early on when something is violating that, or when something doesn't align with that. And I know I've been tested multiple times. And even though there was great chemistry there with certain people and individuals that came into my life, there was great chemistry there. And I thought, like this, I could see this going somewhere. But once I realized that these particular individuals were not honoring my boundaries, or they were crossing boundaries, or they were making me feel a certain type of way, or certain values didn't align with mine, I was able to, instead of just trying to hold on to that chemistry, I was able to nip that in the bud and move on from it. And so that's literally what I want to make sure that we're doing. So yeah, I'm excited about this series. I think it's gonna be fun. It's not gonna be all just serious. Like we're gonna have some fun moments in there. Red flag roulette. If you don't know what that is, you gotta listen to the podcast to understand what that is. But we're gonna be doing that. That's here to stay. Again, we're going to go deeper into Patreon, but just over here, you're going to get the visuals, the podcast visuals. You're going to get all the afterthoughts, all the things that I ran out of time to say. But I really do want you guys to tune in to the podcast. It streams wherever you listen to a podcast. And if you are streaming on Apple, make sure you follow it and drop a review for it after you tune into it. But yeah, I just, I wanted to start here because I think it's a good place to start. I want to make sure that we're just all on the same page about what it looks like when you are going back into the dating scene. And because right now, I really, it's really sad to say, but the dating scene is really, it's really there are a lot of unhealed souls out there in the dating scene, and we're going to, like, you're going to be exposed to a lot of that. And so, like I said, a lot of it is going to test you. It's going to test your values. It's going to test your self-respect. It's going to test the self-love that you have. It's going to test all of those things. And, you know, just remember that this is your journey, right? Like, this is your journey. So nobody can tell you how that's supposed to feel. Listen to your intuition. When something isn't right, it's not right. And, like, don't try to force it. Use that. That's a superpower of yours. Use your intuition. Learn how to be self-aware. That's a big deal. Being self-aware, because guess what? It's not always the other person. Sometimes it is you. And remember that at the end of the day, as adults, we have to communicate in a certain type of way, and we have to respect one another when we talk. And the man deserves our respect when we talk to him, just like we deserve his respect when he talks to us. And, what you're looking for, you are allowed to have a list. Okay? As superficial as that may sound, you are allowed to have a list. Make sure that your list holds value, though. Don't be so focused on surface level things. Like, your list, when you're trying to check boxes off, make sure that list is composed of things that mean something to you, things that are character traits, and things that are, values, and, things like that. Don't just go for the obvious things that can be taken away from a person, that can be replaced, that don't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, I want us to go deeper, and I really want us to have a better experience, because it's real easy to go into this season and be tainted and really have an attitude of, like, man, like, just be real bitter, like somebody hurt me, and, like, I don't care about nobody, and I'm gonna do dog to everybody because somebody did the dog to me. They hurt people all the time. And unfortunately, you might have been someone who felt that. I feel like I got hurt by a person who was already hurt. I got hurt by a person who was not healed. And because of that took away years of my life. And I'm not willing to do that again. I'm not willing to invest years of my life doing some of the same things that I did before. Like, obviously, you can't control the outcome of a situation, but you can control yourself in these situations, and you can control what you allow. You can control what you turn a blind eye to. You can control the red flags that you are ignoring. You could, like, all of that stuff, you can control all of that stuff. So it's just kind of like, to an extent, it's like we have to take more responsibility for the decisions that we make in these connections that we allow ourselves to entertain. When there was a sign for you to step away, did you step away from it? Or did you just try to, for the sake of saying you got a man, or you got a connection, or you got somebody, or you don't want to be alone, or you want to make sure you got somebody to do this with, were you sweeping things to the side? We will do that from time to time. And I want to make sure that that's not something that we continue to do. Right? This version of us right now, is it the best version of ourselves ever? Maybe not, because I feel like growth never ends, right? We're always growing. We're continuing to evolve. But this version of me now, this is a better version of me than the version of me that got hurt. The version of me that got hurt was a version of me that was desperate to save a relationship. A version of me that loved extremely hard, a version of me that had faith in a person who didn't even have faith in the connection, because if that person would have had faith in the connection with me, then certain decisions and choices wouldn't have been made in the beginning. And so I wasn't valued. And so it's about getting into connections where we know that we're valued and just certain things. And like I said, you never know what the outcome of certain situations are going to be. And you can't always control that, but you can control your reactions to things. You can control how much time you invest in certain things. You can control what you allow. You can control your boundaries. You can control just your self-respect. That's all yours. That belongs to you. Your self-respect and your self-love, it belongs to you. And you have every right to stand on that in a way that makes yourself proud. And that's what I want this new series, which I'm calling the Party of Two series. I want this series to be about us making ourselves proud, where we might have feelings of, oh, I let myself down because I did this, or I didn't do this, or because I allowed this, or because I should have did this and I didn't. It's like now we have a chance to come into this and make better decisions for ourselves. When you know better, then you could do better, right? That's kind of where we're at with it. So I'm not going to continue to make this too much longer. This is pretty much what's supposed to be kind of like the introduction to the afterthoughts for the podcast. And I wanted just to bring awareness to you. If you are a podcast type of girl, check out my podcast, Lots of a Black Queen podcast. It streams on Apple, Spotify, Audible, Prime, all of the places. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, you can also tune into it right from my website, which is thoughtsofblackqueen.com. I'll have everything in the description notes. Anything that I mentioned today will be in the description notes. If you are interested in this, look at this little fly little hoodie that I had. This is designed by yours truly. I love Black creatives. And there's a hat. There's a full collection on my website, which is passiontees.com. I will have that linked in the show notes as well. And yeah, I am looking forward to this. I got so much more to bring to this channel. I'm excited. I've taken a big hiatus away from like actual producing visuals for the channel. So I'm excited about this. This is going to be really fun. This is going to be dope. Connect with me where you can. If you have any type of you want to do there, my email will be in the description if you want to email any kind of dating questions that you might have for this series. Collab information, sponsorship of the show is available. I am taking sponsors. There's information on that on my website as well. And yeah, this is just the first entry of these this is just the first entry, intro episode to my Afterthought show. And so yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys all about it. And next time, hopefully I'll have things a little bit more. I'll see how the back camp, like the setup will be a little bit better next time. This is just literally me trying to get it out while we're in the middle of, right now as I'm recording this, we're supposed to be going through this snowstorm and it is cold. And I got so many other things that I need to do. The podcast episode drops today. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys. If you enjoyed anything about this video, I would appreciate giving it a thumbs up. I would appreciate your follow, subscribe. It just takes a second. And yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments about the show. Let me know what your thoughts about any of this, any of the thoughts that you might have about, transitioning from your healing season or your healing journey or your solo season and going into, and again, this series is going to apply to the women that are ready to date. Some of us are like, hey, I ain't doing it. And I don't blame you, girl. I don't blame you. But this series is specifically for the woman that is ready to make that transition. So I'm out of here, you guys. Until next time, peace and blessings. I love you.